Hello to Big Lake Community Ed coaches. This is the portion of the lesson plan labeled weeks 9 through 12 of school year 25-26. We're going to be doing this for the final week of our fall lesson plan, as well as the first 3 weeks of the winter session, so that kids who've been in class get to continue forwards, and then the new kids will get to do at least 3 of the 4 weeks of this lesson plan. The idea is that the lesson plan isn't 100% linear, meaning that as we rotate through, we're working on different strategies to work towards all of our skills. So it's okay if this is the last week of one session and the beginning of another session. But then hopefully for the kids who are continually coming, that they're experiencing some familiarity and some building, and then the kids who join class will start to experience that from wherever they're starting at in the lesson plan. This portion of the lesson plan, I would say, is a little less indicative of knowing the station based on what's set up. For instance, this is Volt, and it looks kind of bare compared to what we've been doing. And you might not know the difference for each age level of stations, or that there is no difference unless you really watch this video and look at the lesson plan. So please take the time before you coach to study what you're about to do and work on trying to memorize it. Each night you're only needing to memorize 8 stations, just 4 things on one and 4 things on another. So it needs to be a goal of yours to try to get to the point where you can look at it before you start the night, and then try not to need to look for the rest of your class. If you're reading the instructions on a station during class, it's automatically taking longer to get them to trying gymnastics. So please study in advance so that your class can get more turns and that you can do more teaching instead of just reading off the sheet of paper what they're about to try. So on Volt, this station is pop-up for 5 and 6, and this is how the panel mats are set for 5 and 6. 7-8 is also a pop-up, but we're removing the panel mats and adding a 30-foot run. Then for intermediate is a 40-foot run with a handstand flat back, and we need to be allowing those intermediates to be trying that. They just were doing it on the trampoline the last few weeks, and we want to give them the opportunity to try this, or we don't have any idea if they're good at it when we're looking if they're supposed to move to advanced class, or if we see them as an Excel or preteen candidate in the future. So please make sure you know in the lesson plan if your intermediate is supposed to be doing a handstand flat back here, and please make sure you're able to remove these mats if your class is 7 or older as well. Please make sure that this is not just a monitored station where you go, good job, good job. They need to be learning the words run and hurdle to the trampoline, and knowing that means the jump where they stop their run and jump to 2 feet on the trampoline. And then they should be learning that pop-up means 2 feet on the trampoline to 2 feet on the mat, where they try to stay vertical or straight up and down. And then that handstand flat back, we need to keep instructing them on what one is supposed to look like, so that if they're ducking their chin and continually doing a forward roll, we're giving them the chance to learn what one is supposed to be. Lift their body up straight, push them up to a handstand, spot them a couple times, because we want to know if they're able to move past whatever stage they're at already on those things. So please make an effort to teach them something about what they're doing or how they can improve it. Another station is here on the dot. They're going to be doing toe rises while their friend is doing an arch hold, and they continually switch back and forth with their friend. All of those for all the levels say a 10-second arch and a 10-second toe rise. Would it be bad if you accidentally told them 5 or 15 instead? Absolutely not. But make sure you tell them something and then help them learn how to count and exercise and how to hold still for that long. Those are also skills we want to see if they're willing to work at if they need to move into a class that's different than the one that they're already in. Then down on the trampoline near the green dot that you see, we're practicing tuck jump, straddle jump. That's for all ages. At the lowermost levels, they're gonna be accidentally smushing together the tuck and the straddle, meaning that they tuck their knees up and then try to straddle in the same jump. For those kids, we need to be saying, bend your knees, touch the trampoline, then open shut your feet, and help them do that slower and then continually move faster. And then of course, for the kids who are connecting those, we can be asking them to improve on their tuck and straddle. And those are the kids where we can be asking to count things. So remember, at that lower level, it's going to be tricky for them. We'd want to probably start and say, connect, tuck, jump, straddle, jump 3 times. So you can go tuck, straddle is 1, then tuck, straddle is 2, or you might need to say count to 6. But no matter what level the kids are at, that's a tricky business. I even struggle with how to best explain that to high schoolers. So try not to be too strict about the counting, but if their jumps are connected and looking good, that's something that they can work on, is the rhythm and the counting of what they're doing. The thing I think helps most is when you say tuck, jump, straddle, jump, tuck, jump, straddle, jump. And again, don't let this go uncoached. Show them where their knees are supposed to go up by their tummy, and show them that a straddle jump should look like a straddle sit, not a jumping jack, so that they have the opportunity to improve. If they're doing a butt kicker and a jumping jack instead, they have no idea that they're not doing it well unless we tell them what it could look like. Then over here on the red mat, we need it all cleared off and the dot off to the side to practice a wall walk to handstand. At a first stage of a wall walk to handstand, their hands would not walk towards the wall at all. They would be working on trying to have a straight, tight body and kind of look maybe like a rainbow stand against the wall or a hollow. The next would be that they could walk their hands in, then walk their hands back out, and then walk their feet down. In the 7 and older class, it asks them to walk their hands in and roll off the wall. A lot of kids are really scared to do a kick to handstand forward roll on the actual ground because it feels like they're falling over and they don't know what it's going to feel like or what their body's supposed to do. There's also a skill where some kids kind of knee themselves in the forehead or in the face on the way down because they kind of crunch down and tuck into a ball and they don't know how that happened, and so it makes them a little bit nervous. So try to teach them how to do a handstand forward roll. The one thing I would say is that I would teach the kids to bend their arms on this handstand forward roll. I know in high school and in Excel team, we say, keep them straight. But I don't even ask the Excel kids to keep their arms straight when they go off the wall because it's kind of a different skill. It's harder. It takes a lot more body control. If a kid can do it with straight arms, I would tell a coach immediately because they might need to be monitored to move into a different class. But I usually tell the kids to slowly bend your arms and look at your belly button so you can put the back of your head on the floor. And then it just feels like a forward roll. And the way I would help the best with the roll part would be to stand next to them and hold their legs at vertical and kind of let them feel how their toes will kind of drag down the wall on the first few to help them keep their feet up instead of flopping off the wall. But help on a couple of these could make them have it for real forever. So please make an effort to help them learn how to do that. This area is not going to be jumped onto off the vault table at all during this next, what'll be 2 months. So this is a place where we can neatly keep mats and things stacked because they will not be in the way for the rest of class. Moving over to the bars area, this set number 2 is currently set how it should be for intermediate. The 7-8 class, you would remove the pit blocks. And for the 5-6 class, we would need to add another panel mat on and add the octagon. You might also need to add another panel mat for the 7 to 8 class. In the 7s and older, they're starting hands on the bar, feet on the panel mat in a hollow stand, and then either glide out, glide back, or for intermediates, glide out and try to clamp onto that top pit block and bring it back with them. The 7 and 8s could use the pit blocks. The reason I didn't originally put it in the lesson plan is because the 7 and 8-year-olds tend to mess around with pit blocks a lot. So the 7 and 8s might get less turns if you allow them to use the pit blocks because you do have to continually manage them and reset them up. And I think the intermediates could be expected to do that well, while the 7-8s it might just turn into a crazy game. So use your best judgment with your 7 and 8s, because if they're kind of talented and could follow directions better, it would be great if they could use the pit blocks. I just don't know that it's necessary as far as them getting more turns. And the 5, 6s would ideally probably have this bar lowered. And it's going to be during high school season, so these bars are going to be high every day that you get here, and other ones have to go down for those stations. So this is the one that I left high and showed you how I would set it, because you might not have time to move every single bar in the room, and that's okay. And this would be the one where you could leave it higher and it wouldn't really affect your stations as much as it would on other places. And again, glide slings often go just monitored and not coached. It's like, oh, good job, you swung forwards, you swung backwards. Put your hands on the kids and make them feel what hollow is. Push their tummy up and lift their legs up. It's okay if they don't get it perfect after that, but they have no idea what they're doing incorrectly unless you show them, touch them, and help them get better at it. So please give them the tools they would need to improve, because some of the kids really do want to learn, even though the other ones might not seem like it. Then over here in the pit, again, no setup over here, so you're going to need to know when you get here. We're doing tree fall for 5, 6 class. I chose to put 2 colored dots over here so that from afar you could say, put your feet on the orange dot and face your belly button towards the wall, face your belly button towards the vault runway. Then give yourself a hug and don't let go and land on your back. And then when kids are struggling to crawl out, you can be saying, put your feet on the purple dot, please. You need to do that before your friend can go. So if you give the 2 colors, that allows you to give instructions from further away. For the older ages, they're doing a popover. I have a video that shows each of those things. I think we know what popover is. Just know that popover varies a lot kid to kid. They might be nervous at it and it looks great. They might not be nervous at all and it looked scary. The intermediates, a lot of them, if you showed them a standing front tuck, could absolutely be trying to do that. But with the popover, the most common thing is kneeing themselves, like either in the eyebrow or the forehead or the nose. It happens often, even when we tell kids about it. So make sure you're giving them instructions to start in a straddle and leave space for their face. And even if they're really good at it, that's almost the kids who do it more often, because they're moving faster and jumping a little bit more and they think that they're going to be fine. So just make sure that you're describing how to do that to minimize how many kids are going to end up in that position. If you're going to spot a popover, you should stand next to the kid. You would put your hand closer to the pit on the back of their neck and your other hand on the back of their thighs. So you can kind of hold them folded in half so you can help them feel what that feels like as they tip in. And then you should just push their hips over. So it's kind of like they're falling into the pit onto their back. And then if you get the opportunity to spot them more than once, you can kind of push them a little faster or lift them up a little bit. And usually after that, kids feel good on their own. For the 7 and older, that's in the lesson plan. If a kid is super just not into it, super fearful, you could always let them do a tree fall instead. But I usually push kids, like literally grab them and push them over on one and then ask them how they felt about it, because most kids are relieved once that happens and they thought it was fun. Then over here on the strap bar, we're practicing pull-ups. So they're going to hang with their hands on the bar, their butt right there, and their feet on the block. If they can pull up and lift their legs off the block, they should. If they can do that, tell them to do a pullover. Like, let them just try to get them to do 3 pull-ups first, and then tell them they can pull over on the last one. The whole idea is we're trying to build that upper body strength that they don't get a lot of other places to be able to do their pullover. And then make sure you're describing to kids why. Say, yeah, we want you to be able to do your pullover and you have to bend your arms first. And then you have to say to some of the kids, you know, when you compete gymnastics, the bar is higher than your head, which means you have to reach up and grab onto it and pull yourself up there. It's not like down low how we practice it. And so giving them that here's why might help them give a little more effort at it. And ask them to do 3 and switch with their friends. I would even say maybe a good challenge would be, can you hold one leg up in the air while you're doing it? Now, can you hold your other leg up? On your last one, can you pull your feet up to your tummy. Really try to find a way to make that fun for kids and to challenge them. And then the kids that are getting discouraged, just remind them that everybody has to learn how to be stronger. And it's okay as long as they're trying, they're learning to get stronger muscles. So this is the bar that I did not set during this video. And this is where we're going to be spotting kids on a skill. And we're going to need to set that to meet their size. Kids do fall off of bars. Like they slip off, they let go, and we don't understand why. So although we're going to be spotting them, they can fall right out of your hands, and we don't want them to be falling from an unnecessary height. So just make sure before class starts that this gets to a height where you can easily spot a beginner 5'6" on a pullover, forward roll dismount, and bent arm hang for 3. The 7/8, we're spotting a pullover and then a bat hang, front support bat hang, or cast back hip circle. So watch the video how to spot the first one, and then you'll kind of sense, I think, the kids who you want to go, hey, this time see if you can swing your legs before you do it, and we'll go around the bar a little bit faster. And then again, ask them to do a forward roll dismount and hold their chin up by the bar. And then the intermediates, that same thing. So we don't allow kids to move into advanced class until they have a back hip circle, and we would not be looking at a 7-8-year-old or an intermediate who could not already do a pullover and either do their back hip circle or like be so close to their back hip circle we know that they can make it maybe today if they had more tries at it. So again, we need to be letting them try in class or teaching them at least what it is, so that they have that chance to continue developing that. Moving over to the beam area, you can see I did not pull the beam up here because I'm here by myself, but you get the picture. There's the dot where we would stand to go off. We are not going to be moving this mat. So on Monday, the first day of the session, we are going to make sure this is as flat and even with the floor as possible, and we will not be moving it anymore. So I did edit the lesson plan slightly from the original printed page in your book, and I did make a new copy that says update printed. So we are not doing the split jump or the round off dismount anymore. We are going to switch it for 5-6 to be a tree fall, so they'd stand like on the end of the beam and tree fall to their back. And then for 7 and older, a handstand flat back off the end. That is somewhere where we may want to be adding the big pit pillow or an 8-inch mat to the top of that resi, because as I said, I'm going to try to get it flat where it's even with the floor. And so that's kind of a far fall for some kids who might already be nervous. So if you can add an extra mat there, you should. This is going to be one of those beams where I already kind of said you're not going to know what it is when you look at it, and it's different for every age group. So for the 5-6s, we're doing kicks forwards and then their tree fall dismount. The 7/8s is long jump and then their handstand flat back. And the intermediates is at 3 dots, a half turn on toe, so that they can continue to practice what they started learning of their turn on toe this session. So when you have new kids and the first week of the new session, we're really going to have to watch out and help them with that, and maybe even have them do a turn drill if they're feeling out of place or confused on that. Please know the value of each of those things. Kicks forwards, we want them to be able to squeeze their legs straight and walk still and think about a split jump while they're doing it. Long jump, we want to see who bravely wants to jump on the beam and who doesn't fall off each time that they jump. And then for the half turn on toe is that chance to kind of learn a skill where we would want to see some progress at that to move on to Excel or into the advanced class. So please know that as the coach, and make sure you're trying to help them develop those things as they're working on beam there. Moving over to the laser beam, again, is going to be a place where you're not going to know unless you read the lesson plan. So for the 5-6 class, you need to get 3 pit blocks, and they're practicing tuck jump over. So that brave, bold jumping, staying facing forwards, placing their feet correctly on the beam. For 7/8s, they're doing a kick to handstand on the beam. And then intermediates, they're doing a cartwheel. So please make sure you know which one and give them some tips, hints, and tricks and help them try to get better at those. Over on the medium beam, we are doing pivot turns. Remember, those are competed in bronze, and really do have a direct correlation to if they can do their half and full turn on toe on beam. So please watch the video on the different ways that might look based on their age and skill level, and see if you can help them get better at it. I wanted to point out that it is not okay if we do not have mounting mats at beams. So please make sure there is one at both medium beams before you start your classes. I also want to talk briefly about the shoelaces. Make sure you tell kids how to use those. Now, here's how I use it. If we're jumping, we stand behind the shoelace and then try to land in that same spot so we're still behind the shoelace. So the reason I like that is the kid then knows, oh, I jumped forwards and the coach said I'm not supposed to jump forwards. Sometimes with pivot turns, I will even tell kids to put one foot on each side of the shoelace, because then when I say spin around on your feet, you can say, oh, don't step over the shoelace again. One foot should still be on each side. So for those kids who struggle, I've used that before as kind of a barrier, saying keep one foot on each side of the shoelace and let your feet spin around. It doesn't matter. You don't have to do it exactly how I just described it, but you do need to say something about it and try to get them to use it the same. Even if so, anything that they're kind of evenly spaced on the beam, that they're not going too close to the end, too close to their friend. And of course, I use it as a spacing tool so that multiple kids can be crawling up and doing gymnastics without running into each other. I also wanted to point out that today, when I happened to come in, this mat happened to be a little bit further that way and the beam further this way. So I could have then pushed the mat this way, or I just chose to put the dot on the other side and then put another green dot where I want the student to stand. And I just wanted to take the opportunity to say, it does not have to be perfect. If in the video I had the dot on this side, but like, look how little mat is there and how nice and open that space is. But if they jumped here, their friend is right there. If it looks safer to go another way, go for it. It does not need to be identical, but what we want to do is be giving some instructions and thinking it through, and then ask them to follow your instructions for that day. Then the 5-6s are continuing to do their wall walk pullover over here. Obviously you can see I didn't remove the other bar. You obviously know we would never use them like this, but make sure you keep teaching wall walk pullover, that they have their arms bent, that they're finishing in front support. And if you think they can make it without the wall, pull the bar back and have them try it. It would be better probably for them to be doing the wall walk one by themselves than needing spot on the other one, because then you can't be doing other stuff. But again, we don't know if a 5-6-year-old can make it without the wall unless we ask them to try it without the wall. Most kids cannot, so we need to provide the wall there. For most kids, this size of bar with this size of hands is the correct thing to do, but pull it back and have them try. I also would say to a 5 and 6-year-old who can easily make it on this one, I would go, hey, can you go over by that purple dot and grab onto that bar? See if you can make it over there. Sometimes that makes kids discouraged because it's harder than they thought it would be, and they go, well, now I can't make it. And you go, well, that's okay. Come back over here and try again. But if we're not challenging the kids who need it, then we don't know what they're capable of. This bar is where the 7s and older are using during beam, and they're doing that front support, bat hang front support again, or that cast to back hip circle. Now, both of those things are valuable. Lanny does front support, bat hang, front support with the bronzes to work on their shape during their back hip circle. And we want them to know those words, front support, bat hang, and front support. But then also teaching them what cast back hip circle is gets them to that next level. So it's not like after they have a back hip circle, they should never do the other one again. But the cast back hip circle is the one they could eventually do on their own, and that we need for them to move up. So make sure you're just making an effort to have the kids in your classes know what both of those things are and are working on both. I would also say this bar is a little bit too high for most kids, but could be fixed with a block under it. And because the 5-6s aren't going on it, we don't need to be so worried that they're going to fall very far. If it was like this today, I probably honestly would have taken one of these, stuck it under there, let the kid use that. And then as the coach, I could stand at a more comfortable height next to the bar. So you want to be thinking on that one when I'm spotting a front support, bat hang, front support, what feels good for me to be the most helpful as well. And also on that one, because we're not focusing on their pullover, we don't need to ask them to do that. They can just jump up to front support so they can get some more turns. If a kid can easily do their pullover, do you want to let them do one? Sure. But do not put yourself through having to spot a kid on a pullover who is not even close to doing one, and then spot a front support, bat hang front support, because it will just take up so much of your time when the whole focus is we want them to learn what the other thing is, because they probably already know what their pullover is, even if they can't make it. Lastly, moving on to floor, I'm going to start at trampoline. We're going to start with seat drops for age 5 and 6. The goal is to get to learn what one is, and then if they're able, connect 5. For the 7 and 8s, please try to put a puppy foam in between their legs and see if they can connect 5. And then for intermediates, they're trying seat, puppy, seat. Now, seat drops can be kind of dangerous for a 5-6-year-old if they don't know what one is or how it feels. So I would have a 5-6-year-old who doesn't seem like they know what's going on when you say seat drop, sit on their butt in a pike and show you where they're going to put their hands before you just tell them to flop backwards. You could even spot one by holding onto their hands and letting them kind of fall to their seat and then pull on your hands to get back up. Please know that there is a ton of core control involved when a child does a seat drop. So to you as an older person, that might seem like it's really easy, but for them, that could be a lot of muscles used. Even think about your neck muscles, that when you hit the ground and holding your head still, you should teach them when their hands hit the tramp, then to reach them forwards. And that kind of helps pull them the right way. Sometimes when they touch the tramp, their arms kind of go then behind them and then they can't get standing back up. But just know it's challenging, but it's teachable. So please ask them to do things that might make them better at it. Then with the 7/8s, with the puppy foam, we're trying to get those like adductor muscles where they squeeze their legs together. So even you as a high school athlete might experience a coach telling you, oh, when you turned on your vault or your full twist, your feet kind of wiggled apart. And that's those muscles that press your legs into each other. And we want the kids to be developing those muscles and also learning what that feels like. So on their skills that we could say maybe on a kick to handstand, oh, your legs should feel like they did when they were holding the puppy foam on your seat drop. They should be zipped up tight and pushing against each other. Then for the intermediates, they're going seat, puppy, seat. So they're going like back, front, back, where they're kind of making their body rotate and work in a different way. If you don't know what that is, ask a high schooler to show you who does know, and show the intermediates what it looks like. Make them go, oh, cool, and see if they can do it. See how many you can connect in a row. See if they can get like count up to 10 and do it. So we're trying to work on kind of their agility and all those other things that I already talked about for 5 and 6. If they're doing it sloppy, ask them if they can do it with their legs glued together. People can almost do it even with their legs like from their seat to their puppy straight almost the whole time before they land on their knees. So just continue to ask them to try to make it the best that they're able. Then moving over to this big panel mat, one piece of advice is if you're going to be spotting on this one, a bridge or a handstand bridge or a kickover, I would rotate this mat how you need to still see everything. So I, for example, would want to spot right here so I could see that, and see the beam. And if I kneel down right there, then that puts that behind me. So I would pull this mat up here and spin it 90 degrees so I could see better. So think that through when you're going to know you're going to be helping a lot. With pushing up to a bridge off of a mat, it says in the instructions, lay on the mat and then scoot your head off the end and push up to a bridge for the 5/6s. It is 100 times easier to do it that way than if they lay on the ground and only put their feet up. We know that their feet and hands are too far apart automatically, and that's like doing a therapy tabletop uphill into a skill that's hard for them. So think of it like when you were little and you laid on your couch and stuck your head off the back and could backward roll off of it or push to a bridge. Like that's what you need to use this like, is laying already on the mat. Remember, a bridge and holding it is a skill that they need to learn. USA Gymnastics suggests not doing bridges until you're 5. So we do not do them a lot before that. So a 5-year-old, this could be the first time they've ever heard what that is. So make sure you see value in just teaching them the bridge and letting them hold it. The kids who can hold it really steady are the kids you want to say, put one foot in the air, see if you can count to 5. And then those are the kids from there where you're going, oh, geez, they can already do that. Maybe I should just spot them on a couple kickovers. And then after you spot them on a couple, you could say, okay, you can try that again by yourself if you feel comfortable doing that. Otherwise, remember, we're going to hold our foot to the sky for 5. So you don't have to keep helping them just because you helped them a couple times if other students are in need of help. And then just make sure you give that clear dot wherever you're going to move this mat to so that they're not getting kicked. A lot of kids go crooked if they're trying kickovers, so give them a good spot to stand. Next that everyone's doing from this is their piked half handstand. Please make sure you know what that could look like. High schoolers, we do these at practice. You know what one feels like, you know what one looks like. Make sure that it would be great if a high schooler could show this to a kid and see how great it could look. And the idea is that your foot's up for 5. Then you touch your other foot to it, then fall to your back, not just like flop off the mat. So if you could show them what they're aiming for, I think it could help them understand. And they have done the wall walk up the wall to kick to flat back this session already. So I would use that as a reference for them. See, remember when that was over there and we kicked to our back? That might help some of them do better quicker. Then over at beam, again with a mounting mat, please, before your class starts, know that if a mat isn't there, it's not necessarily because we did it on purpose. It just might be we all set up really fast in a couple minutes and it didn't get done yet. So pay attention to what you might need. And if it's not there during class, wave down somebody who's assisting, wave down somebody who's busy, keep talking to the kids and walk and grab a mat. Getting to the point where you can coach while setting up is probably a good goal. So make sure it's how it's supposed to be. Don't make a 5-year-old struggle. Remember, if they crawl up in this thing, that puts them really close to that hard ground. So we want them to have a safe place. Over here, they're all doing inchworm on this one, which is a strength skill. And I want to point out that that works on the muscles that clamp onto the beam. So when kids practice kick to handstands on the ground, their hands are shoulder width apart, and almost anywhere in their life would they put their hands all the way together for any sort of strength. And so if they can get more comfortable in that position, then when they're kicking to handstands, they'll be safer, more comfortable, and be stronger at it. And then it's also a flexibility exercise when they inchworm into the pike stand. So there's just a lot going on there between the core strength, the shoulder strength, the arms, teaching them those are your hands going to kick to handstand. There's just a lot to be talking about. So complement it, coach it, correct it, and make sure that you don't just kind of leave it as like a leftover station. This station is only being used for intermediate. And this was added on, so I just printed that for an edit because I did not like that we were missing their chance to work on their back walkover during this section. So in intermediate, that mat is for round off rebound because they've not got to work on round offs either. And we want them to have a familiarity with that if they're moving to Excel or to advanced class. So when they're on that one, they're going to start position on top of the mat, put their hands right there and round off the mat, rebound and roll to candlestick. Again, if a high schooler could show that, that would be best so that they know what they're aiming for. But then they didn't get to do their kickover on that station. So on this one is where you're going to have to help identify for your intermediate class. Are you going to have a kid doing just a bridge and holding it? Is there a bridge kickover? Is there a handstand bridge kickover? Is there a back bend? Is there a back bend kickover? We do not want kids moving into advanced class if they can't do a back walkover. But this is their only shot to work on one for this 4 weeks. So you're really going to have to spot some back bends, identify who's too nervous to do one, who's not quite flexibility wise. If they can't do a handstand to bridge, it doesn't make a ton of sense to do a back bend and a kickover because a handstand to bridge takes a little less muscle and control. So you're really going to have to maybe you can ask myself or Lanny before class starts for more details if you're worried about how to help on that one. But ideally, you'd just be spotting every kid on a back walkover. I just don't know that that's really realistic based on the variety of skill level that you would find in the intermediate class. And then on that panel mat during 7/8 is where they're having a chance to try a handstand to bridge if they're able. So again, we want to show that as the 7/8 station. Start position, hands, bridge. But some kids really are not going to be able to do that. So you might need to offer them the 5/6 option and then let them kick over or let them TikTok. So please watch the variety of videos that I have about learning a back walkover, because all of those are helpful and we want them all to have as much experience with it as possible. And if we only do exactly what's on the lesson plan, it's going to be a little too hard for some, a little too easy for others, and not give them a chance to kind of see. Sometimes even if kids aren't ready, but they can see another kid do it, that makes them go, oh, okay, well, maybe I could do that. And then they kind of get better at the stage that they're at. So ask as much as you need to about how to utilize these and challenge kids on those skills.